That's right. And we're back. So this is Masculine Geek number 193, the Fireside Chats. You got a 3-hour helping full of us last night, Robert and I, as we were live streaming our mini D&D mini painting. That went well. And we're back for regularly scheduled programming. Originally, and this is probably not a shock to anyone, originally we were going to be playing Rollo's campaign today, but he's up to his neck in Vegas tits and completely forgot about her. I get it. Let's see, tits and D&D. It's almost evenly balanced out when it comes to your attention and your focus. So I get it. It's not a problem.
They do have a way of making you forget things.
They do. So it's more tits, less D&D. So we obviously continue the show, and we're going to segue into our Fireside Chat, which will include some Dungeons and Dragons talk as it was prior to the start of the show. Drew, go ahead. Continue on with what you're thinking about for your campaign.
All right. Well, for all the cool people who watch all of our D&D stuff, some of you might have caught something that Robert's cleric of Thor, Bjorn, mentioned during the last session, which was that the party needed to get back to the mainland, raise an army, and come back and attack these dark elves en masse. And something that I've been planning to do, and I don't want to steer the campaign in any direction. I'm not trying to say that I've got any. There's no plan. There's literally no plan. There's just this island, and there's things happening, and it all keeps going in the background, regardless of what the PCs do. And then whatever the PCs want to do, I adapt to their decisions. So I want to make this clear because I absolutely abhor these floofy, 5e railroady campaigns where they think they have to have a plot that goes from A to B, and they're kind of stringing their PCs along like they're actors that are acting out some fucking lame play that the DM comes up with. That is not fucking D&D. D&D is you create an environment.
Theater and therapy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it is. You create a setting, a milieu, a campaign, and you populate it with interesting places to explore and interesting things happening and interesting monsters and NPCs for the PCs to then interact with. And you set the PCs loose in the world and you let them do whatever the fuck they want. You don't plan any stories. Everything emerges from the gameplay. And this works 100 times better than anything that any DM is going to come up with on their own. You put interesting things in the world, you have interesting situations going on, but then let the players decide what their PCs want to do. Don't start with this big fucking story. Anyways, go ahead.
That kind of dovetails. And TJ would be the first to admit this. He doesn't know too much about Dungeons and Dragons because he came into it with 5e and just being thrown into it, 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So what you just described, like you let the players take control, you let them guide, you guide them where they want to go. You nudge here and there. You provide the overall referee experience for their desires within the game world, and that's the problem. I think that TJ doesn't realize he can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he can. And maybe we should talk with him about it next time he's on, or just in general.
Oh yeah,
like the way Vince has talked to him about reading the book that Vince bought for him
numerous times.
I'm just going to kind of throw this out real quick. I'll make my point, then I'll throw this out. One of the things that I've been wanting to do so that I don't fuck this up if it happens is run a practice mass battle. And I'm talking a few thousand versus a few thousand.
With us or by your lonesome?
I'm going to run it by myself to make sure that I'm able to do it and do it without it taking hours, so that when we do it, it runs smooth. I'm gonna fuck up first, make my mistakes, and learn, so that when we get to that point, it runs well. But I'm learning some of this stuff still, and so Jeffro Johnson's Trollopolis campaign is one of several of the Bro SR campaigns that have now all been not combined, but are interacting through
Converging.
limited time event called Ravenloft. And I know most of the D&D people have been around a while.
Ravenloft.
Ravenloft.
Exactly. It's a total play on that. That's awesome.
It's that Transylvania Dracula horror kind of takeoff. But the idea is this big Halloween thing.
Markovian empires.
PCs are going back and forth between different people's campaign worlds with different DMs running things, plane shifting here and there. And the patrons, the high level PCs that players control that have like armies and huge territories, have all these huge battles going on. And the absolute beauty of this that a lot of people don't seem to appreciate is that you don't need a completely different system to run these battles. For the most part, you just take the regular AD&D combat and you scale it up, so that you need to, because of the complexity, you wouldn't need a map. You'd need to have things on the table, but one figure represents 20. So, or you could have one represent 100, depending on the scale, and you just run the combat the same as you would for individuals, but you just scale it up 1 to 10, 1 to 20, 1 to 100, depending on the relative size of the armies and how you would divide them up. And it works just as well. And then if you have like certain leader characters, which is what the PCs would be, you don't have the players lumped in with some unit of 20 or however many. The PCs would be leader characters in this. And of course, everybody's seen the movies where there's the huge, and it might not be historically accurate or realistic, but everybody's fighting on the battlefield, and then the one leader's making a beeline for the bad guy, and they fight in the midst of it all. So let's say you've got 500 orcs, and they're supported by a couple stone giants. And then you've got another side where you've got maybe 300-400 human fighters or elves or whatever mixed, and you have the PCs as kind of the hero leader characters. You would run the PCs individually, and they would likely be dealing with the enemy leader characters, where the larger units represented by single figures would be fighting with each other. And Jeffro Johnson and some of the others explained how this scales, and I've got it in a chat. I need to write it, because I think if I write it a couple times, I'll get it. But basically, it's the same combat rules, just scaled up.
You could always get the PDF version of the AD&D battle system rules too, the box set,
or the old chainmail rules.
I've got chainmail, I've got sword and sorcery, but apparently just AD&D combat, and I've got to go through. It's in the DMG, scales up. You just scale it up 1 to 20.
Yeah,
but I don't want to. What the fuck is that noise?
So,
my wife is probably printing recipes or something. Printer's running.
Oh, okay.
But when you mentioned that, and it wasn't the first time, somebody else, I can't remember, you might have mentioned it previously. I'm pointing this way, but Robert's this way. You might have, it's mirrored here. You might have mentioned it previously, but I remember it. But it's wheels started turning as soon as you mentioned it last time, because I'm thinking this would be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
because of the situation, and I'm just going to throw this out there real quick on the D&D
sea battles
stuff.
too.
Mm-hmm.
My planning is extremely limited because it's stupid
Correct.
to plan for any kind of specifics. If you plan for specifics, then you are going to be tempted to try to steer the players to the shit that you planned. And that's bad DMing. If you're a DM and you have a story in mind before the game starts, you're a bad DM. That's shitty DMing. The players should have complete autonomy for their PC, or the PCs should have complete autonomy to do whatever the hell they want within the campaign setting that is possible within the physics and magic rules and whatever of the campaign setting. What you do is you think to yourself, okay, this is where they are. What are the things that are happening in the area? What happens if they go this way? What do they run into? What happens if they go this way? Who are the other factions, or who are the other people, the other NPCs? What do they want? What are they doing? What might happen? And you have these possibilities, and then you just have that, a bunch of possibilities, but you don't fucking, oh, okay, so this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and then I got to
make sure micromanage it.
Here. Yeah, you can't fucking do that.
Well, in my original game group, the only thing that we had that was always prepared was the geography. We had an agreed upon map of what the world we lived on was like. In general, the continent in which all of our primary action took place, where the kingdoms our various characters may have came from, and that was it. As far as prepping, someone might sit down and draw up a map, and maybe, there's a temple that I've mapped out, and there are maybe one or two things, or there's a wilderness area that I've mapped out. There's a wizard's tower here. There's an orc encampment here, and everything else that might happens based on left to chance by the various charts for random monster encounters and what the players want to do. If the players never go to the magic tower, it's no loss. It's just that I drew a tower there and a wizard lives there.
Your goddamn tower there, Drew, that's up there in the forest. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. You have to have the setting. But then within the setting, they just go wherever. So what I've been doing a lot more now, before I would go and think, okay, well, this is happening here. This is happening here. Now, I know that all these undead are on the beach. And I know that there are certain creatures that populate this. So I'm going to keep the stats handy for these particular things. I know that we are in a forested area, so I need to bookmark the page for the random table for forests, temperate forests, and stuff like that. So there is planning, but the planning is basically to be prepared to react to and adjudicate and referee, not to try to steer things. I'm just creating scenarios and seeing what you guys do. There are people, elves on this island, who have their own plans, and they have their own thing that they're doing. And you might decide you're just going to leave and never come back, and fuck those elves, what? Fuck them.
Well, I think from my character's perspective, obviously he's gone up in level since being here, which is something that generally would not have happened. But I know we're kind of fudging the rules a little bit because of the mode of presentation of the show for the audience. But also we've spent a lot more time here in some ways, camping out and doing different things. So taking some of that, my character's obviously spent a lot of time in prayer. He has become a little bit more powerful. His faith has grown even stronger. Wealth-wise, we've got more than enough wealth that this expedition is a massive success as far as that goes. But it's now become something more in the case of my cleric, in that he wants to basically scourge this island, cleanse it of its corruption and the taint of the various undead and monsters, and set this island up with a massive great hall dedicated to his deity, which is Thor. And I'm pretty sure he's probably in downtime has been talking to Bolvi, which is Rollo's paladin, and
of
it's
Odin.
like if
Who?
yeah, exactly. But it's like, there's that temple to Odin we found, and I think that the Allfather would look favorably if you would join in me and help, to command troops and to lead holy warriors to do this, and we could rededicate that temple to him. And even though I plan on having this island be a massive, cathedral basically to Thor, we will have that special tomb as a special sanctuary and hearth dedicated to the Allfather, and trying to stoke his religious fervor. And obviously being friends with Ulfr, it's like, there's a tower here and a mage here, and this would be a great place for you to set up shop and study. And as we continue to explore and spread the true faith, what magic artifacts and books might we find that you could bring back and study, and perhaps you could open a school to mages. So, I've been talking amongst the party trying to do this. And, obviously Vince likes the idea of, I could set up my own tower here. And if I have a army to guard me of Viking warriors, that would be pretty cool. So, but obviously, so I like the idea of doing that, because character wise, I'm only 2 levels from basically being, name level and being a high priest. So it's about time I start thinking about gathering my flock and setting up my church and so forth. So,
well, you did spy, or Ulfr spied, a boat on the horizon.
Yes,
I did. And here's the we're talking about these chainmail rules. Obviously, PDF is a PDF. You can purchase that and have it on a tablet or print it out if you wish. You can also get the soft cover book for $7.42.
Yeah, I've got it. We don't need it. Everything that we need.
Well,
is
no,
in
no.
the
I'm talking.
DMG.
Yeah.
But
those
it's,
watching
it's
at home.
interesting to see where it developed from, though.
Correct. But if anyone who's watching has an interest in this, it's inexpensively purchased. So you could also get.
There's also
copies of
Swords
other
and
stuff, too.
Spells, which TSR released a little bit later. That has more, and there's a bunch of tables in there specifically for that. But yeah, this is.
And Arneson had his own rules that they were using, right, for their Blackmore campaign. For
that was before that.
Yeah,
they built all of the D&D stuff on that. So this is the really interesting thing is these guys started as war gamers.
Mm-hmm.
They were not. They weren't doing anything initially that even remotely resembled what we would think of as tabletop role-playing games now. They started out playing war games and then started experimenting with role-playing
and get that on
characters involved in these war games. Like you're not just going to control these armies, but you're going to be the mayor of this town and you're a spy. And they started integrating these role play aspects. And then at some point, that's exactly where I'm going. So if you've seen The Secrets of Blackmore, that explains it better than I ever could. It's got interviews with all of these guys who were involved in the original wargaming group that they had, and the Brownstein group, which eventually led to the Blackmore campaign, which, if I remember correctly, part of the reason that Dave Arneson wanted to switch from the historical wargaming to this fantasy setting was because some of the really hardcore historical war gamers would argue about realism of these weapons weren't available in this exact time period, and these weren't that strong relative to that, and these ships couldn't move that fast. They were nitpicking about little historical details. So by moving it to a fantasy environment, as long as you are internally consistent, it doesn't have to be consistent with real history. And then you can also include fantastical elements like mythical creatures and magical abilities and all these things. So it is fascinating to me how this evolved out of war games. But here's the thing about that. Arneson and Gygax, when they were creating this stuff, assumed a lot of their market were already familiar with war games. And there is so much in D&D where they teach you this is how to play this role-playing game where you're controlling these individual PCs because they felt that's what people needed to be taught. And they didn't say, and also this is how it works with large-scale battles, because the assumption was that their audience already knew how to do that.
Well, I don't know in Vince's experience, but in my experience, the guys that were playing that were older than myself were war gamers who also got into playing D&D. I think our generation is probably the first generation because the game existed when we were getting to that age to be introduced to it, to basically skip that step in some ways. Even though it was still around and we could have still done it if we'd wanted, but we had that whole other pathway that we could take.
I knew of
anything younger than us, they don't even play D&D, let alone, war games.
I knew of wargaming, and there were various clubs, but I never got involved in that.
Yeah.
So
I remember
straight to Dungeons and Dragons.
There was a place on College Avenue in Appleton, Wisconsin. It was near where I grew up. And this is where I got our D&D books. And I remember them having a huge selection of miniatures. And a lot of this stuff was Napoleonic era, soldiers, horses, cannons, all of this sort of stuff. And I didn't have any interest in it at the time. I wanted Dungeons and Dragons. I wanted the fantasy, magic, monsters and all that stuff. But now the idea of being able to combine this it's just mind-blowing. A lot of people have this idea with D&D that once your characters get to a particular level that they just get retired and you just have, but there's so many erroneous assumptions that so many people have. We could probably spend the whole night just talking about all the things that so many people have gotten wrong about this, and I'm still learning. My brain is just my mind is blown by all of the stuff that I've learned just in the past couple of months as a player and observing in all the stuff going on in the Jeffros Trollopolis campaigns. Like holy shit! It's hard to absorb and retain all of it, but they have multiple levels within this campaign world, which because it's running in one-to-one time, one day in the real world equals one day passing in the campaign world, so that there are events that are happening within certain time frames that are being run by the higher level PCs who have their own cities, or kingdoms and domains. They have all these forces. They are able to influence larger events. So there is a sort of a war game. Right now, there's a inter-campaign war game. It's not just between the higher level PCs within the Trollopolis campaign, but the high-level patron PCs in different campaigns are battling each other.
Wasn't like nuts. Macho Mandolf fighting like an army of gnomes or something like that?
That happened a while ago, and I'm not sure what.
It'll look like Aaron Clary.
They might have.
Well, I thought they looked like Rob. Bald, white beards, the little red hats.
They probably looked like Rob with little red hats. Yeah. But the interesting thing is you've got all this stuff happening at this higher level. So you've got this background like Lord of the Rings, or like a lot of these medieval stories where there's some sort of war going on, and in the midst of this war, your PCs are, sometimes you're doing jobs for these patron players, and sometimes it has. This is interesting. The big battles and the huge conflicts between the domain level players, the war game happening in the large scale, influences what is happening that the PCs can interact with. And then sometimes the actions of the PCs influence the outcomes of some of these wars. And Vince, you might remember that one shot that Jeffro DM'd for us when you got the hand of Vecna.
I did, yeah.
And I don't think, did you get the eye or just the hand? I can't remember.
No.
No.
Rollo buggered off with the eye.
Rollo pocketed the eye, but I had the hand.
But then when we got out of the temple, it was taken from us. We were surrounded by all these undead and that fuckers, invisible thing. So because of how our thing turned out, this was happening in a part of that campaign, and it influenced other events. I didn't get involved until later on, so I'm not sure what exactly effect it had, but it's everything is affecting everything else. And so the consequences of the things that the PCs do, beyond just being fun to play the game, that holy crap, this could have an effect on this world overall. And there's just so much more going on, and it seems so much more, and I keep wanting to say the word like dynamic or alive. It feels like every time you join a campaign, you're stepping through a portal into an imaginary world, but a world where time keeps going, whether you leave or whether you come back, and there's all this stuff going on, and it is so much more interesting to me, and there are so many more interesting things happening that you would never get with these new D&D campaigns where they don't do one-to-one time. When the session stops, time stops in their game world, and then the next session they pick up exactly where they left off. And there's all sorts of negatives to doing this. There's also, it constrains you in so many ways that one-to-one time doesn't. Now there are some different constraints with one-to-one time, but so many people have this idea that, and we're kind of doing this way because we're limited with the format. We're doing this as much as a show as we are for the sake of enjoying the game. But a lot of people have this idea that they've got their PC and that there's this one party of PCs, and that the campaign is focused on that party and the adventures that they're having, which is not supposed to be the case at all. It's not about your one PC in this one particular party. The campaign world is the focus. And if you're playing correctly by the rules, you can't just have one PC. You have to have multiple PCs, because when it's time, when your PC, in a particular session, again, one-to-one time outside of gameplay. So if we play today, Wednesday, and we play again next Wednesday, let's say that within the game, within the session, 8 days pass. Now, our PCs that we use for this session maybe travel 4 days to get to this place, and then they're there for 3 days doing something, and then they travel a day to get somewhere else. 8 days have passed during the time that we're playing this game. So if we play again next Wednesday, when we play Wednesday, if we're doing one-to-one time, at the time that we play, those PCs that we used the last time are still doing the things
in between
that we played through then. So we would have to use different PCs. And we could use these different PCs to do things in completely different places. Now, this requires record keeping because you don't want to have weird anomalies.
TJ's head's going to explode.
He'll he'll figure it out. It's not that difficult. But also there's training. If one of the great things about, and I know some people, they having to pay gold and take time to train to level up adds a very interesting dynamic, and it adds an incentive to get more treasure. And let's say you've got a session that ends and you've spent 3 days have passed in the game world during a particular session, and you get a shit ton of gold and you get XP for that. You kill a bunch of monsters, you get XP for that. You've got enough XP that you don't automatically level up, but now you're eligible to get another level because you've earned the experience points. You don't automatically get it. You have to train for it, and it costs you gold to train for it and time. Resource management comes into play here. And there's also sort of an opportunity cost thing because, okay, do I have this PC train and then they might not be available during the next time because there's only so many weeks before this thing happens, and that might be a better PC for this thing. There's a lot of resource management that comes into playing correctly that you miss with the way that a lot of people play. That makes it a more interesting game, makes it a more challenging game. I should put this out there. If you want to be challenged, if you want your creativity and your problem-solving skills to be challenged, this is a better game. If you just want to do floofy theater around the table and act out some lame story your DM has concocted, then play 5e story gaming. You know, we act out the plot points and we don't stray from the railroad that we're on, kind of thing. But this, and I'm rambling, I'm going off topic, but if you here's the thing about training too. Training costs gold, and the cost is 1,500 gold pieces per current level per week of training. So if I'm level 3 and I'm going to train to earn 4th level, I have to pay 1,500 times 3, 4,500 gold pieces per week. So there's incentive to get the gold, but there's also incentive to role play correctly because the DM is grading the players. You get graded 1 to 4 on how well you play your class and your alignment. If you're playing the character according to your class and your professed alignment, you get a higher score.
That's what I really that meritocratic environment. I really enjoyed that. I always had that in my own games. I still have that in this 5e edition that I'm running. But this egalitarian equalism where every class, every race gets the same standard XP and it advances at the same time. I'm like, no, this is bullshit.
Now, there's got to be.
I think part of. I was going to say that's one of the things it cracks me up on Twitter or elsewhere when I see younger gamers talking about what is the point of gold pieces. I mean, you've got 1 million gold pieces now, but you know, after you buy maybe a nice suit of armor or something, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, if you're playing first edition, you burn through that gold.
That goes really fast.
Well, yeah. I mean, if between sessions, let's say we had a regular Saturday game where we played 4 to 6 hours, ate pizza, drank beer, laughed, joked, picked on TJ, made Aaron
make fun of Aaron's mom.
Yeah, you know, every Saturday,
the usual.
What did we do with those other 7 days? Well, at the end of the game session, we went back to the inn that we're all staying at. All right, what it cost, you know, so many silvers a night for a room at the inn times the 7 till our next gaming session, and then we're going to eat there. So, you know, how well are we going to eat? Are we going to be drinking meat every night, wine every night? You know,
it all adds up. And maybe as we get higher level, we purchase or build our own inn and run our own business. And that's going on in the background in your hirelings.
Yeah.
Henchmen,
Well,
hirelings. Yep.
Yeah, and all that
With-
stuff starts money, and then of course once we get high enough level, we start attracting followers to us.
Because they get it. They get a
know,
cut of
there's-
everything. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there's the cost to hire them and pay them the upkeep, but the cool thing about the training, in addition to it being incentive, it incentivizes you to go out and get gold and to delve in the dungeons and to take on dangerous jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It also incentivizes you to role play the class and the alignment, because if you're graded on a 1 to 4 and the DM's keeping track, if when it comes time when you've earned enough experience that you are eligible to level up,
Mm-hmm.
you don't automatically get the level, you are eligible if the DM says okay, and if there happens to be someone nearby who is of high enough level to train you. So sometimes this can be a quest in itself. But if if you're a shitty player, let's say you're a thief and you're not stealing things and you're not trying to sneak around and backstab and use stealth and use your abilities, and instead you just run straight up into battle, or if you're a cleric and you're not healing people and you're acting completely against the
Or you're judicious on who you heal, little
Yeah.
little fucking gnomes committing sacrilege, and then expect me to like heal them for it.
But if you play well to your
Yeah.
class and alignment,
Mhm.
you get a higher score. You get a 1, and this gets averaged. So if you've got like an average of 2, you're paying for 2 weeks of training. You spend longer training up compared to 1, and because it's your current level times 1,500 gold pieces, that adds up. If you're a level 4 player,
Mhm.
you're talking 6,000, or level 4 character, not level 4 player. If you've got a level 4 PC and they want to train to level up to 5, that's 6,000 gold pieces per week. So that you don't want to have to do that for 4 weeks. The cost goes up significantly. But
Mhm.
hirelings, not just hiring them, but outfitting them,
Mhm.
and not just hiring and outfitting them, but you also have a certain amount that you're paying them monthly.
Mhm.
And also, and this is where it comes from, morale from wargaming
Mhm.
comes into play with higher and people. I don't see people using surprise. I don't see people using morale. Morale is a huge and very important part of this. Your charisma. A lot of people think of charisma as some sort of dump stat. Oh, well, I got a shitty roll. I'm going to put that, assuming that they're using a method of character ability generation where they can move around. Charisma becomes important when you have hirelings because it affects the number you can hire
Mhm.
and how, the morale, how willing they are to follow you. And if you have shitty charisma, I mean, it does affect some other things too, but it's going to affect you later on when you get to this point. And when you are going into some of the more dangerous dungeons or situations where, like, one party encountered 200 something goblins in the woods. And this is the shit that's supposed to happen when you do the random rolls and you roll for the number of monsters that you're supposed to. If you look at the DMG, sometimes you'll see, okay, you run into this outdoors and it's like, well, 10d20. Well, holy fuck, or 20d10 or whatever. Are we really supposed to fight that many? Well, fuck yeah, that's what you ran into. You don't have to. And this is the other thing. People have this idea that, oh, balanced. You got to balance the combat. No, you don't have to fucking balance the combat. You sometimes run into shit that is so incredibly outside of your capabilities that you got to fucking run, or you find a way around it, or you do something other than fight them. And sometimes you run into something that you're able to just fucking steamroll, and sometimes you have a close fight. It's this idea of balanced encounters is stupid bullshit. You shouldn't expect that everything that you encounter it's going to be balanced so that you're just able to beat it with a few hit points left. No, that's bullshit. Sometimes you're going to run into shit that you just cannot handle, and sometimes you're going to die. That's part of the game. but the DM should give you at least some hints that you need to get the fuck out of there.
Well, I
We
mean,
ran-
when you look in the monster manual, look at Frost Giant, number appearing 1 to 8. Look at Goblin, number appearing 40 to 400.
We ran into 200 goblins,
You know, yeah.
and we got.
So I don't understand how people think all these numbers and stuff are in the book, but they have no meaning.
What the fuck did you do?
Yeah.
So here's what we did, and this is the reason I brought it up. A bunch of us had henchmen.
Mhm.
So the good thing about having henchmen is you have so much more manpower in fights, and you have often more diversity of classes. And there are some that are just rangers. Rangers are so useful because they can't be surprised as easily. They're only surprised on a 1 instead of a 1 or a 2. But if you have a ranger, they will surprise on a 1, 2, or 3. Of course, it depends also on some adjustments, basically based on what you're running into. But having a little bit more diverse classes for different roles helps. But we had a good. We probably usually we have between 6 and 8 players, sometimes less, but usually it's about the number. And so we probably had somewhere around 6, 7 players, but with all of the henchmen, we were probably closer to 20 something. And we saw these goblins. They didn't see us, but we had a wizard with us or a magic user that was able to cast Stinking Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember exactly how it played out, but I think we were able to surprise them. And we had so much advantage on the surprise that we had several attack segments before they were even able to respond. When you roll to determine surprise, are they surprised? Are you surprised? Are both of you surprised? Or none of you surprised? The difference in those surprise rolls affects how many segments you are able to act before they can respond. So, and if you are firing arrows and you're firing at a rate of 2 arrows per attack round and you have 3 segments, you shoot at them 6 times before they can even do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So hit them with Stinking Cloud and then unload. And we had a ranger, actually my now dead ranger. He's dead, but he was with them at the time. So we hit the magic user hit them with Stinking Cloud, and immediately a bunch of them were just retching and vomiting and stuff. It got a large amount of them. A bunch of the archers, henchmen, a lot of henchmen started laying into them. And because of the huge advantage we had with surprise, and how fucking people need to use these surprise rules. What they need to do is just use all the fucking rules in there. If they need to use surprise, they need to use morale. Good example. We killed so many so quickly because of the combination of the surprise and the effectiveness of the Stinking Cloud that when the rest of us were approaching the goblins, having made a morale check,
Demoralized.
amount of numbers, they failed their morale check and they sold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we were mostly lawful good PCs, so we did not kill all of them. We actually delivered all of these prisoners to the nearest village that had a substantial guard that were there. So we had basically this 200 something goblins, and we were able to take them on because of the combination of the magic user. And this is something else. You look at the spells. If you read through the spells, there's a bunch of spells that seem like they are perfect for mass combat. Things like Fireball, Stinking Cloud, a lot of this stuff, it's almost, well, not almost, it's like they made this so that you could not only have these party level adventures, but so that you could scale it up and have these mass battles. But the floofy drama, theater, story gamers with their party of just a couple PCs, no henchmen, no hirelings, no followers, they're not going to take on 200 goblins. Not using the morale rules, not using surprise, all this other stuff. They're not. This is designed for you to be able to do this kind of stuff. Now, if we were a little bit lower level, or maybe we didn't have the henchmen, if maybe we were weaker, 200 goblins, no, we're going to get killed. Well, okay, it is what it is. That's what was rolled. Nobody's going to, oh, well, that's not a fair encounter. That's not balanced, because we're not a bunch of fucking pussies. We would say, okay, this is the situation. What do we do? And we would come up with some sort of a plan together to avoid the problem or deal with it some other way. Maybe go and alert this nearest town, hey, this 200 goblins are headed in your direction. Need to start mounting up some defense. But it's just, fuck the idea of balancing combat encounters. That's stupid. Come up with random shit and then see what your PCs do. Just the only thing I would say is, from a DM standpoint, for the players to be able to make the right decisions, they have to be informed. So you have to give them reasonable clues in your description of the world that indicates the danger, so that they can assess that properly. Also considering that the PCs living in this world would have some knowledge of these things. Something that I like to do in stuff that I've run before is, if the PCs have fought something and they had a hard time with it, then I will have them, if they're going to encounter something and it's a hell of a lot more dangerous, when they encounter it, I might have it eating this other thing that not too long ago they barely survived an encounter with. So they say, oh shit, this thing is eating that thing that almost killed us. We're not going to mess with that. That's just an example. Or traps. If you're going to have traps, you have to give some indication that, okay, there's this bloody smear on the floor here. Maybe we should look around and be careful as we're coming through here. Or what is that pile of bodies doing over there? So you do have to give hints. You do have to give clues. I shouldn't say give. The PCs should be telling you, I am looking around, I am listening. Do I smell anything? Is there, any wind coming for this? The PC, and this, I'm ranting now, but I'm going to roll for perception. Tell me, and I don't mean to make fun of TJ, but that's just, I guess that popped to mind. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? If you do, I'll tell you. But don't say I roll for perception. No, what are you doing? Well, I'm checking the ground for sign. I'm looking to see if there's footprints. This is a dusty place. Has the dust been disturbed? Are there any places on the wall where it looks like some of the dust or webs have been cleared? Maybe it's an indication there's a switch or a button there for something.
Well, in TJ's defense, rolling for perception, he got ruined from doing 5th edition.
Yeah, sorry, TJ. We're not meaning to beat you up.
That's the role you use to do those things that you're talking about in 5e.
Mm-hmm.
That falls under the umbrella of perception to make your check. So I understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, a little more description is needed as well.
Yeah.
Remember the movie Kung Pao, Enter the Fist or something?
It's been a while,
So
but
they
yes.
make the joke about this one guy that was really bad at kung fu. They trained him wrong on purpose as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what happened to 5e players. They've learned to play the game wrong, except it's Wizards of the Coast that's the joke.
And what's
it's on
really
them.
sad is 5th edition is the most like D&D has been since probably 2nd edition. And I wanted to like 5e. I really, really did. I think in the hands, the 3 core rule books in the hands of a more experienced player can still do something really decent with it as far as running games for other people.
You would have to
because
modify some. You'd have to
you do.
house rule
You
a
have
bunch
to
of stuff to
modify
fix
it. I am the
That's what I
thing
do
is,
with my 5e game.
I ran
Yeah.
a 5e campaign for actually over 2 years.
Mhm.
It started out as a local campaign where it was great meeting in person. People were bringing snacks and everything. And unfortunately, after the whole pandemic bullshit and people moving, it kind of got a bunch of things just got split up. But I changed a lot of stuff because, and I ignored a hell of a lot of stuff
Mhm.
because it was almost like PCs would become too powerful too quickly. They weren't the death saving throws. Fuck that. No, you don't get any death saving throws. If your hit points are reduced to 0, it starts counting down. If they get down to -10 and somebody doesn't stabilize you, you're dead. That's a better rule.
Mhm.
Or if they drop low enough all at once, then you're just dead. That's just it. And this is not really clear in the DMG, but it says when the rule, if the hit points are reduced to 0, you're incapacitated, and then every round after you would lose a point until it's -10, and then you're dead.
Mhm.
You're just dead. There's no saving throws. Just does somebody get to you, and are they able to stabilize you? Now it says optionally down to if the PC's hit points are reduced to 0 or optionally as low as -3, then this happens. But if it's below that, so the way that I would do that is if the PC's hit points are reduced to 0, or to reduce to 0 minus their Constitution modifier. That's as low as they can go. If it's reduced to below that, then they just die right away. And the Constitution modifier makes sense for that. It's allowed. It says 0 or optionally as low as -3. So
I was waiting for Bent to die and for Vince to hopefully level up to get resurrection, not reincarnation, or not resurrection, but to get reincarnation and literally have to have Bent roll up a brand new character, new race, new everything.
Fucking weasel.
Because I would have found that so hilarious. Especially if Amos is now having to play a more serious character.
Well, anybody could die. Literally anybody could die at any session. I mean, I thought Ulfr was going to die for a moment there in the last one because of that the Dragon.
I got my ring.
And the ring of regeneration helps, but I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised that Bent has not died because there are so many times that
he should have.
Probably should have.
Right. Just a running joke.
I did kind of the whole that there's a reason that the elves would have wanted to capture him. Depending on what you guys do later on, you may or may not find out why that might have been a thing. But I'm surprised he's not dead. Although I kind of feel bad. I don't want to kill Amos if I can avoid it. But if I mean not Amos, but the Bent, I don't want to kill Amos. Because I killed his PC in the Jeffro thing.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want people to. I like Amos. I'm not picking on Amos. It's just that the Bent character is so
very much comic relief.
Goofy, yeah. But
he's definitely the Jar Jar Binks of our group.
Well, and remember, we all came up with Bent together because Amos didn't show up to roll a PC on that day. So it was
and he couldn't show up to game tonight.
So,
yeah. Although in Amos's defense, half of our players and our DM couldn't show up to game tonight. So,
Well, I hope we're able to play sometime in the next couple of days because I'm anxious to see where things go with where we are. I'm surprised that none of us have died yet. I thought for certain a couple times that Gray was going to be dead. I'm surprised Lupo's not dead. Lupo figured I thought he was going to be the first to die, but
well, who knows? We may have a total party kill on our hands the next session on the Rational Males game because Rollo warned us that our next encounter should be pretty combat intensive, and it should. I mean, like the entire couple hours of gameplay should just be nothing but combat.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm still waiting to see if Gray and Grot turn into werebores.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. We have not that has not come about yet. We need somebody that has remove curse, but I don't have that spell.
No, I'm a thief in that game, so there's nothing I can do for you guys. I can watch you guys start to transform, maybe stab you in the heart with a silver dagger, and then run like hell. That's about the best I can do for you.
That you know what? That is what Gray would want to not be a werebore. So stab me in the heart with a silver dagger if I am turning, and nobody's going to be able to remove curse on me.
Oh, the whole werebore shit. I
Yeah.
thought we got healed from that crap.
No, because we'd have to go back and watch the video, but the way it sounded from what he was describing, it sounded like Grot and Gray may be infected with lycanthropy from the werebores.
Not Gray.
I thought I was scratched.
Yeah.
Were you?
I thought it was you and Gray.
Well, you have to heal yourself and then heal me.
But if it's lycanthropy, he's got to remove curse.
Yeah,
remove curse.
Yeah, heal doesn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't have remove curse. At least I don't think. I need to check. I don't think.
I think there's a remove curse on those scrolls.
If
you found, remember you found those scrolls? I think Amos' character found some scrolls.
If there's a remove curse, then I will use it. So I got to use it on myself first because I'm the healer.
That's fine.
But I will. If there's two, then I will use the next one.
And Grot might actually like being a werebore half orc.
Grot have no problem with pig.
Does he maintain
control? Yeah, with Grot's intelligence, probably not.
Yeah.
Grot slay you all.
So Grot is a little bit angrier than normal. I'm not
fucking
not much of a difference.
Right?
Oh boy.
Gray
I'm excited to find out what happens.
Yeah.
We'll find out hopefully next Wednesday.
And who knows? Rollo may even have forgotten who rolled what and so forth. So I'm not going to. If he was here, I wouldn't even be saying anything. So.
Yeah, when are we going to have Jack Napier come on and play Lupo?
We can only do that on a Saturday. So if we decide to play this Saturday, if anyone responds to my message, responding to Rollo's message.
I know TJ said he can't.
Yeah, he was going to be doing something with knobs on Saturday, he said.
Yeah, TJ's playing with his knob on Saturday.
The tip counts.
The message
yeah, he's got old electrical tube wiring he has to deal with. So.
I wonder if the wiring is silver. I wonder if he's got silver wires in his house if it's that old. Because one of the houses I owned, when we redid the wiring, we pulled it out. The wires were silver, not copper.
Cool.
Which would not be a bad thing to have and keep on to. Do not let the contractor scrap it. So
yeah. Fuck.
Indeed.
Although it sounds like TJ's going to be doing the work himself, or at least most of it. So that's a different thing.
Maybe you want to give him a heads up to check that, because if it is, he doesn't want to toss it.
Well, hopefully he will. If so, he'll take that advice to heart better than he does the, hey, TJ, read that player's guide that Vince got you. Just read the pages on the Ranger.
I think he did.
Pages.
I think he said he did that, but I don't know.
He should read all the fighter stuff, but it's just a few pages.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But he needs to understand the Ranger abilities.
Yes, and the racial enemy and all that shit. So,
Yeah, that
oh, yeah.
the racial enemy is a handy
Yeah, you
feature.
get
pretty
bonuses.
badass.
Bonuses to your to hit and to damage, I think, against certain types of humanoids.
Mm-hmm.
So why would he not want every possible advantage? That, and again, the surprise rules, and hopefully Rolo's, you know, when you've got, well, the ranger has to be the first one out there, but if we've got a ranger up in, well, the ranger has to be a little bit ahead of us, and we can't be clunking around in heavy armor too close. But a ranger only surprises on a 1, and a ranger surprises others on a 1 through 3 instead of the 1 and 2. So it improves your chances of not being surprised and of surprising others. And when the surprise is included, when you're rolling for this, having surprise gives you such a huge fucking advantage, or it fucks you if you're, I mean, it cuts both ways, but with a ranger, we have an advantage. But when you have surprise and you have a big difference, like if you roll like a 5 and they get a 1, that's 4 segments that they're like the huge difference. Like, oh shit, they're trying to gather themselves and figure out what the hell's going on. That is a lot of times that you are able to attack before they can even respond. We killed some, I can't remember what it was. We were able to surprise something and just do a mass, I think it was some sort of weird monster that the DM at the time pulled out of. This wasn't even something from any of the D&D manuals, but he pulled it out of the newer Cthulhu. I've got it on the back of the shelf, like the newer Cthulhu D20 thing, some weird, massive thing the size of a bus with tentacles, and well, of course, it's got tentacles and stuff coming out of it, and fins and whatnot. And this thing would have probably fucked us up pretty bad. But if I remember correctly, because we got the surprise and we got enough, we were able to have, again, the archers. This is why the hirelings are so handy. Dump a bunch of arrows into this thing before it could even do shit. So we were able to do a tremendous amount of damage very quickly. That surprise, we should be rolling for surprise a lot of the times when we're running into shit.
Correct.
And deliberately attempting to be stealthy so that we don't give our position away, so that we are able to surprise others more frequently. But that's one of the advantages.
Well, when you're running, when Gray is running around lighting fucking enemies' crotches on fire and shit, I mean, it's difficult to be quiet.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it is necessary to torture evil creatures to extract information from them.
Right.
And this is not inconsistent with being lawful good, because they're evil creatures, so it's okay.
Oh, okay. I like it. And on that note, we're going to end the Drew Hour.
What time? Holy fucking shit!
It's already 10 o'clock.
I was thinking it like feels like 8:39 or something.
Right. No, we can go for a few more minutes. I want to wrap it up soon, though. I want to keep these short.
I'm just loving talking about D&D. I would rather be playing it, but this is fun.
Right. Did I show you guys this for my one of my Geek and Tells? I may have shown it before, but I'm not sure.
Oh, cool. I believe
this
you did.
Is not. Yeah, this is not for sale. This is a PDF which was bandied about on Twitter maybe 5 or 6 months ago. And if you knew the guy, you could say, "Hey, can I get a copy of that?" It's basically the basic rules and the expert rules recompiled in a PDF, but you could get the PDF and then go over to Lulu, the vanity press, and print as many as you want in hard copy. In either the matte cover, which that's what this is, or the glossy cover. And nice. A friend of mine made one for himself and gave me one as a Christmas gift. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's got all the illustrations in there and whatnot.
Very cool.
So the monsters, I think, there, or are they the spells? In the monsters.
So that's the Menser.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Let me take a look at the. It may not be dedicated. Well, this is actually the original edit by Moldvay, David Cook, and Steve Marsh. Previous edition by J. Eric Holmes. Yeah, with the cover art obviously by Earl Otis. And this has
Looks sharp.
It's really it's actually I'm very surprised at the production value of this
what is the company that does that again? Is it Lulu?
Lulu, yeah. So you could print your own. Say you want to do your own book. I'm going to write my own memoir to give to my kids. You write your memoir. It's maybe 400 pages, and you go to Lulu and say, "Print this with this cover. Here's the art. Print it up for me," and they do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a coffee table book of your memoirs for your children, or whatever. You could.
I've been using a different company for print on it for all my books, but I should just compare, see how they're. Oh, nice crow.
Yeah.
See how their prices are, and that the quality looks amazing. Though. The company I'm using now does a pretty good job, but I mean that looks sharp.
This cost. This was $24 or $25. It was under 30, I believe. It wasn't bad.
Damn. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Hardcover like that, and the color looks just.
Yeah, the color pops, yeah. And like I said, you can get it in the matte or the glossy, like the regular books are glossy. Oh, cool! Real genius. Yeah. Nice. Original poster.
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty much to the point now where I'm not buying any reprints, and as it is, I've only got I think 1 or 2 reprints, and even of the 2, I've got an original of 1. Someone bought me a reprint of the Warriors as a gift, and they brought me a reprint of 7 Samurai as a gift. And then I have a actual vintage Warriors poster, which is autographed by the lead actor from that movie, Michael Beck, who played the character Swan. And then I have yet to acquire an actual Japanese vintage 7 Samurai. I probably won't, because I've got a feeling finding them is going to be fairly difficult.
Good luck.
And even when I do, it's going to be very pricey, I'm sure. Although sometimes you can find actual legitimate posters, but they're from like a re-release. So, for example, I could, probably find a Marx Brothers Duck Soup movie poster, but it's not going to be from like the 1930s. It's going to be from the 1970s Marx Brothers revival when the counterculture hippie movement kind of started embracing the Marx Brothers because of their irreverent nose tweaking of the upper classes and so forth. So a poster from the 70s might be available, but not necessarily one from, the 30s.
Well, and then I would imagine that there's probably some people trying to pass off reprints as originals. So
especially now, but before it was too difficult to do that. So a buddy of mine actually has a 54 Godzilla movie poster. So yeah,
that's cool.
And he also has the an original Gorgo movie poster.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So
that's cool. That's cool. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up here. This has been a good D&D discussion. I always like hearing Drew's take on stuff, and quite frankly, it's the less I have to do, the better, because I'm still not feeling that great. So perfect. It worked out great.
I was gonna say next time we can just invite TJ and spend the entire time reading and the Ranger section
right
of the DMG to him.
Seriously.
We'll quiz him on it. We'll quiz him on the Ranger section.
We'll send them.
Well, yeah.
We'll create a Google Doc quiz or some shit. And here you go. Fill this out, you fucker.
Well, I mean, there's a whole section in the DMG where it talks about how he rolls for his followers, which may or may not even be humanoid.
Yep.
And he's going to be at a level. Well, it's going to be a little while yet. What is it? 9 for the Ranger?
Ninth level. Ninth level is all name level across the board.
Okay, so
we're close. It just depends, because obviously certain classes require more experience than others. But
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what kind of a following he gets on this island.
Right, and what he actually does with it.
Well, hopefully,
yeah.
Assuming that we can get a ship and get off the island, and then tell you it's like, hey, I am going to go to, my master within the church to train to get up to my next level, to amass, hopefully, depending on experience points, hopefully, get to the point where I can start not only hiring henchmen and hirelings, but actually attract acolytes of my own, and basically set up a grand crusade to go, take this island and claim it in the name of the, our gods and stuff. So, we've all got lots of stuff that we can potentially do. And in TJ's case, him finding a ranger high enough to train him, but also go into an appropriate either wilderness or somewhere to start attracting his followers, assuming he's up to has enough experience to even try to go to 9th level. Because I think we're all like 7th or 8th.
Yeah.
So
getting to 9th is going to be a little bit of a jump.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, and I don't know that any of us are going to have enough to do it, but I know some of us are closer to it than others.
Well, you guys have a lot of options. I don't want to say, I'm so tempted to say that you could, there's this and that, there's the other thing, but I just want to leave that all to you guys. Part of the fun for me is seeing what you guys come up with.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just put it out there. I mean, there's going to be different ways that you can, again, just, you already know this, so this is not a surprise, but Ulfur did spot a ship. And I'm sure Ulfur had mentioned it to the other party members over the course of setting up camp in the Dragon cave in the cliffside. So, but somebody mentioned an adult dragon. It was not. They did not fight an adult dragon. There may or may not be any on the island. I don't know. That'd be interesting for me to roll and see what's in a couple other places, just to. Maybe there's some big dangerous shit roaming, but they killed a dragon, which is like a combination between a copper dragon and a big lion, sort of.
Yeah.
Oh, Rob's got the picture of it.
Yep. First I thought it was a manicore.
Well, big lion head, sort of the same
kind
of. The description would lead. Oh, yeah. There we go.
You're
right
doing
over
that thing again with the light.
Yeah, it only does it when you make me the big screen. So
that's weird.
That's weird.
Let's see. Maybe if I do this.
That's a little better.
Yeah.
Stop right there. Right there.
Yeah, there
it's
we
not
go.
Doing it. Yeah. Right there. There's a right. Yeah. Right where your forefinger is.
Mm-hmm.
There he is.
So that's what we fought.
Half dragon, half lion.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Fortunately, we didn't encounter one of the ladies here, a dryad, because Bent would probably be trying to pick her up.
He might. Hey, can I do a screen share real quick here? I don't know if that
sure
works from this end.
Well, you're one of the hosts, so you can screen share it yourself. God damn it!
So I'm not sure how this shows up. Is this showing up in my? How do I do that?
You can screen share yourself too. You're one, like I said, you're one of the mods.
Okay, well, how do I? So I've got it down here. How do I add it to the thing?
Just
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can. I'll add it to the stream. There you go.
Okay, I don't know how that worked. So, anyways, I'm playing around with this. This is not our island. This is just something else. But I got this app, this Wonder Draft, and it has been just really. I'm not sure if you can see the whole thing. You can do just so much stuff with this. So I'm going to be using this to do a little more colorful version of the island map with the hexes, with the scale and everything, so that I can actually bring that map up during our sessions and say, "You're here."
Cool.
And taking a page out of Rollo's book, because this is just fucking brilliant. Instead of opening it up, it's all like this. I'll open it up in Photoshop, and I will have a layer of black over it. So I will just erase as you discover more and more of the island.
That's cool.
So it'll be allow us to kind of track where you were and where you're going
attached to
and
it.
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
So, and well, and thank you for coming to watch. This is fun.
Indeed.
Not as fun as playing D&D, but still fun to talk about. I just, man, and I keep coming back to what I said about coming back with an army. I really, again, I don't want to steer anything, but I really hope you guys do that, just because it would just be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Big ass, huge mass combat.
Indeed. All right, everyone in the chat, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. Everyone who's listening to or watching this later, thanks for joining us in the future. So, with good fortune and good planning, we may be playing this Saturday. I don't know if anyone's responded to my Twitter DM regarding that.
I can run TJ's character if he doesn't make it, because I have read the Rangers
we would be playing Rollo's game on Saturday, because that was his suggestion that he wants to. Well, he originally wanted to play on Friday. No one can really do that, so Saturday would be the backup.
Did he give a time on Saturday?
I did 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, I should be okay with that.
All right, and we usually play for 2 hours, so that shouldn't be too much of a deal. Now I'm just waiting for Rollo to confirm his own suggestion. So.
And Friday night painting, perhaps.
If I should be around most of the weekend except for Saturday night and Sunday. So the first part of the weekend, yes. If we want to do painting again, I'm good with that, Robert.
Okay, I think we can maybe make that happen, especially if anyone's interested in watching us hang out and paint and chat again.
Yep, yeah, it went well the other night. Got some good views. Cool. All right. Let's see. Anything to clean up here? Some housekeeping. Robert, where can everyone find you?
Robert Kuzlin, Instagram, Twitter, the usual places, and with the Masculine Geek. So there you go.
True.
Bay.com and at Bay Drew on Twitter.
Cool. All right. And as usual, I'm at masculinegeek.life and here. So there we go. Until Friday and Saturday. We'll see you soon.